Oh, 1907. I am sorry, everybody. According to my digital watch, it's 6:57 right now. But then, yeah. But I see, as you can see, we're working on it. We got the monitors, and right now, off this laptop, all the monitors are showing the same thing, which is just a screen right now. But we're having a little problem interfacing to this, but I've left that on so you could see it, because eventually, presentations or anything else that someone might want to do, we stick a flash drive into this laptop, and it'll be up there, and we'll be able to see it at the same time right here. So, we're getting there. So, now that I've said that, I don't want anybody being distracted. Okay, I'll leave the pictures up. Okay, I'm sorry. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Everybody's checked the bills all over? We're all done with the bills, all right. Okay then, do I hear a motion for accepting the bills?
I'll make a motion to accept the bill.
Larry, second?
I'll second it.
Lynn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, what about the minutes? We had 2 sets of minutes from the last month.
Move we accept both.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So carried. Under old business, we only have the one item, and that is negotiations. We are still continuing with those at this time. Under new business, what we want to do first, and Mr. Pask, you're here. So if you would please, come to the front. As you see there under new business, Mr. Pask has received his Eagle Scout as of last month, the rank of Eagle Scout. So we have a couple of things for Mr. Pask. Get used to it, you're getting older. Oh, you even got some peach fuzz on there. First, what we have is a proclamation of the Town Board of the Town of Barre, New York. Whereas the Barre Town Board has been notified that Eli Nicholas Pask, a resident of the Town of Barre and a member of Boy Scout Troop 175, has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas, as part of his achievement, he has earned 31 merit badges, fixed several gravestones at the East Shelby Cemetery that were damaged and in disrepair, put a new roof on the cemetery, outbuilding, and installed 100 square feet of seating with a cemetery which he designed and constructed. And whereas the Town of Barre not only recognizes Eli's accomplishments, but also congratulates him for his public service and exemplary moral character. Now therefore, the Barre Town Board, on behalf of all the residents of the Town of Barre, congratulates Eagle Scout Eli Nicholas Pask on his attaining the rank of Eagle Scout and wishes him the best of good fortune in all of his future endeavors. Signed on this 10th day of April 29th, the Barre Town Hall, Sean Pogue, Town Supervisor. We also got him a plaque recognizing the same thing. It doesn't have all the verbiage, but it's congratulate him once again. It's a great honor. You know, just for myself, I'm kicking myself in the butt to this day. I made it as far as life. I had a lot of merit badges, but there's 2 required ones I never completed. I got lazy. And I didn't do a project. I started one and I quit it. And now to this day, I've always regretted not finishing up and getting my Eagle. So congratulations, once again. Okay, now, if you notice, for several months under old business, we had paperwork for Water District 9 was still held up in the comptroller's office. Well, as of 10 o'clock this morning, Mr. Lance, Mark, and myself received notification from the comptroller's office they finally approved it. So now we can move ahead and get Water District 9 moving. We have then, therefore, 3 resolutions here that I need to get approved for Water District 9 so we can proceed with it. And the first one, gentlemen, you don't have copies of it in front of you. Lance brought it with him tonight, and that's the final order establishing Water District number 9. This is to notify Orleans County as well as the comptroller's office that we are in agreement and that we will proceed as such with placing Water District 9 in the ground and getting residents hooked up. So what I need is a motion stating that it is okay for me to sign this, multiple copies, they can go out to all the different parties.
I so move that we authorize you to sign them for.
Second,
I'll second
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That's the first one. The next resolution has to do with Water District 9, USDA Road Development Project Management Services. Once again, this is for me to sign, if we so agree, for Labella to manage and put everything together, all the different fees, not fees, but to assist the town in preparing the closing documents. It helps us with the necessary documents to obtain the long-term financing, assist the town in complying with the applicable federal and state rules and regulations in carrying out the project. So it's just hiring Labella to follow through with it, making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So I need, once again, a resolution allowing me to sign this so we can proceed. A motion.
I'll make that motion. That you proceed.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. And then the third and final one has to do with the loan resolution. This is with rural development. This is a resolution of the town board of the town of Barry authorizing and providing for the incurrence of indebtedness for the purpose of providing a portion of the cost of acquiring, construction, enlarging, improving, and/or extending its water facility to serve an area lawfully within its jurisdiction to serve, whereas it is necessary for the town of Barry to raise a portion of the cost of such undertaking by issuing of its bonds in the principal amount of $780,000 pursuant to the provisions of subject to New York State municipal finance law. So once again, it's another one. This has to do with rural development, and I need to sign this one as well for us to continue, as well as Ms. Beach to notarize. So I need a motion to have me do such. Sign this and proceed with that. Anybody want-
I so move, give you an authorization to proceed with it.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So Water District 9 is now gonna start moving. Water District 10. Water District 10, we've gotten all the paperwork and the application, we've completed everything that we can do at this time, but it's all been handed into rural development. That will be, once again, Labella will be working with them to make sure we get everything rolling on Water District 10. And getting the paperwork together that has to be sent into the comptroller's office.
Well, what we need to do, the first thing we have to do is prepare, it's called an order under the town law. Basically, it describes the project and then it sets a date for a public hearing. So that would be the next step. I haven't checked to see whether or not the cost of the project meets or exceeds the comptroller's guidelines. If it's under the comptroller's guidelines, and we don't have to have comptroller approval. If the cost exceeds their guidelines, that's when we have to submit an application to the comptroller, which is what we had to do for districts 7, 8, and 9. So essentially, I can prepare the order, which has to be published in the paper, in the Batavia Daily. It has to be posted on the, should be posted on the website. It should be posted in the town hall on the bulletin board. And then you've got to come up with a hearing date
For the public hearing.
for the public hearing.
Okay, so we are moving along with Water District 9, Water District 10. And between Lance and I and a number of phone calls to the comptroller's office, thank God it's finally moved. Amherst Alarms has been in here working diligently for the last 3 days. We now have our fire alarm systems all updated. We also have our motion and intrusion alarms have all been updated. They're testing, walking around, testing all the alarms today before they left. So the fire alarm system works phenomenal, very loud. They'll have a representative coming out to show us how to, because we got a new touchpad and everything, we're gonna have a specific pass code, everybody, and they'll have to put that pass code in to come in to unlock the building if it's empty at the time. Nobody's here, nothing's going on. So they'll have to put a pass code in to come in, or otherwise the alarms go off and we have police and everything. And then when they leave again, they have to reset the alarm using their pass code again. So pretty much that'll be, it's like our system here. It's almost done, but it's close, real close. Okay. I'm going to jump one more thing in here real quick, and that has to do with the Berry Betterment Committee. You wanted to address your last meeting or plans, right?
Right.
Ms. Dudley?
The Berry Betterment Committee held a meeting on March 28th, and the community projects that we're working on right now is we're going to be planting flowers at the town signs, except for the west side, which we can't really do anything with, and also at the flagpole at the park. And we hope to start bringing in topsoil real shortly. We'll also have teams to maintain the flower gardens, so we'll keep them watered and weeded and looking nice. We're going to have a community yard sale at the Berry Presbyterian Church on June 1st. While they're holding their chicken barbecue, they've asked us to do some sort of event, and we're going to do that before their barbecue on that day. And we have a square dance planned for June 22nd at the town park. We're planning on having the music, of course, a caller, hot dogs, snacks, and basket raffles. And right now, we're working on making a dance floor that's going to be made in sections, and it's going to be removable, so we'll take it back off of the pavilion. And what we plan on doing is selling sections of the floor to sponsors. And we're going to charge $50 a section and paint their name of a loved one, whatever they want on there. And we have applications for that out on the desk if anybody's interested. And our next meeting is April 25th at 7 o'clock at Cindy's house. Anything else? Okay, that's it.
Thank you. See, I'm right there as well, and you made that announcement. I'm gonna throw Mr. Ike in there real quick. So, Mr. Ike, you got anything for us from the county?
Since our last meeting, we made an appointment to the highway superintendent. Jerry Gray has retired, as you all know, as of December 31st. Pete Hausnick was stepping in as our deputy for that, as at that point. And we've hired John Pepinetti out of Labella. He's an engineer, comes with an engineer degree, very knowledgeable. John is very familiar with the county roads, county culverts. 5 or 6 years ago, we did a survey on all the culverts and the bridges, LaBelle did, and John was involved with that. So he comes with a lot of knowledge, and I think between him and Pete, we've got an excellent crew right there. So, and also on the new build, it's just about complete. We had a meeting this morning again. They're getting down to the nitty-gritty. They're sweeping, cleaning, polishing up on the inside. Concrete sidewalks are poured. They're gonna start paving the parking lot next week, weather permitting, and that's coming right along. So by May 3rd, everybody should be out of there, and then we take over and do our thing. So it'll be a good month and a half before everybody's in there anyways. So that's about it.
Something that's not directly related to our town, but has been in the paper a lot in the past, and it looks like they're getting back to work on, and that's the trees along the canal.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation is on the east end. Once they got into Rochester, they were forced to quit, I guess. Now, whether they started up again, I have no idea. But I do know in Medina, they are landscaping the canal bank. They've taken out all those stumps. They brought in fill, now they're bringing topsoil in and grading it off so they can basically mow it, I guess. So, that's all I can tell you.
Okay. And that's it?
That's it.
Quiet month.
Quiet's good.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Can I ask Mr. Ike a couple of questions?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
Thanks, sorry.
You're welcome.
I think it's only fair, it's public.
You're welcome.
Uh-huh.
Okay, next is solar draft law. They've been working, well, let me read what I have here. The planning board would like to submit the attached zoning law proposal for your consideration. This local law shall be entitled as a local law amending the town code to establish a new Article 12 entitled Solar Energy Systems and Facilities, and to amend the schedule of use regulations to provide for those facilities. We have not taken lightly to the process of developing this zoning law. For more than 2 years, we have reviewed zoning regulations from many other local towns, adopting what would be the best fit for our community. Residents and community have made many comments during the board meetings, which have also aided in its development. This zoning covers residential construction, farm, agricultural, related solar installations, and utility-scale solar projects. Sincerely, Wes Miller, Berrytown Planning Board Co-Chair. So, and I know that our own Lance Mark here has been very involved with the planning board on this. There's been changes even made as of this last Monday night when they met. So now we've got the newest copy. And gentlemen, it's now our turn. It's been handed into our laps, so we gotta take a look at it and decide if there's any changes or we accept it as is. Now, a proposal I'm putting forward to you is that we are gonna have to meet. And since we eliminated town workshops except on an as-needed basis, I'm proposing we have a workshop so we can sit down and discuss this zoning. Questions? We need a little bit of time right now. There's no sense in discussing it right now, but I was looking at maybe in 2 weeks. Do we have the possibility of, you guys have had a chance over the next 2 weeks looking it over, and then we can get together and talk about it?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the planning board for the time that they've put into it. Make everybody aware that these things aren't dead set until they go into effect. So you can get a hold of the planning board members if there's any changes that you need. They're willing to look at it. As Sean just said, Monday they had a big meeting on it, which took and changed the whole draft from what they had handed in last month to us. And this happens many times. We're also going to make sure that it's on the website so that everybody can review it. And if you have comments, bring them forward to us.
There'll also be, you'll have to have a public hearing as well.
And this will also go to the county.
You know, go to the county, and then we'll have a public hearing on it before it becomes law. So right now, we're looking at it to see if we think there should be other changes made to it.
Kurt, can I ask you a question? The rumor was that there were 2 suggestions I made that the planning board rejected, so I'm not insulted by any means. I'm just trying to find out what those 2 items were, if you remember.
I know,
Okay.
there was 5, I think you had 5 altogether, 5 or 6.
Was that something I addressed in a letter to the planning board?
All right.
Okay, thanks. Not remembering is a good answer, by the way.
Okay, item, I got a calendar right before me here. Now, as Lee pointed out to me, gentlemen, the week of the 22nd is Easter break for Albion, well, for Orleans County. So, I don't know about babysitting duties, but if you're available, I was thinking about like 24th, 25th, 26th, somewhere in there, we could possibly,
I'll be out of town until May 3rd or 5th.
May 5th.
I'll be out
Okay.
of town too, but I don't know when I'm coming back, because it ain't up to me.
So you want- Yeah. That first week of May, we have a board meeting May 8th. That's our next board meeting, is the 8th. I don't know if you guys want to have a workshop prior to that?
It's okay.
6 o'clock.
Yeah,
6th or 7th, Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday. It's just,
Tuesday sound good? Time preference?
May 7th.
May 7th,
May 7th at?
make any difference to me.
6?
You want it in the evening? Or afternoon?
Well, the sun should be shining by then, so we should have it in the evening.
I don't know, Rich might be involved with the crops.
Well, he'll be back in for something.
Whatever it is, it is.
6 o'clock?
Okay, you guys want 6 PM? Okay. Workshop only. Workshop only, May 7th, 6 PM, pertaining to the solar law draft. Okay, gentlemen, I was so informed that we're gonna have to have a motion that we have this special meeting. Special workshop, it's not a meeting. So, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Rich, did you say aye?
Yeah.
Okay. Opposed? So carried then. Okay, now. Sure. Take one. And there's 3 to go down. Okay, now, what you guys have in front of you right now, and I've given it to you before when I spoke to you individually at times. What this is a professional fee reimbursement agreement. It's a proposal put forward by Apex for us to consider. They will pay for any legal fees, meaning for Lance Mark, and an independent consultant to take a look at and weigh all angles of our wind laws, the World Health Organization, everything that we have, and then take a look to see about our wind laws as such. They have on here that they have a $50,000 limit that they are willing to spend. And if we still do not agree on changing the wind laws, they still have to pay the $50,000. It won't be any money out of our pockets. Now, based in light of all the criticism we've gotten where we haven't done the negotiating, that Labella's in their pocket, that Adam Kaufman, Knopf doesn't know what he's doing and so on. So we figured that, okay, let's get an independent party, someone that is not even involved with this from any side, and let's have another final look at, and we're talking about just our wind laws, and see what we can come up with. Do we need to change them? Let's see what they have to tell us. And that's the whole purpose behind this here. And as I said, if we adopt the wind laws, fine. If we don't, fine. They will pay that money no matter what. And don't forget that this doesn't mean that if we decide, yeah, we gotta change them, that does not mean that we, yes, that's it, we sign up, we got new wind laws, because it still has to go to a public hearing. It's gotta go to county. It has to go for a public hearing before we can even vote on it. So there's a lot more options in there yet. But this is just to get someone else to take a look at this between Lance and another non-committed party to see what perspective is with our wind law. So what I'm looking at here is, once again, the one thing that bothers me with this is that even though the conversation was about a consultant in the recitals here, it did not mention a consultant. And the conversation I had was including not just town council, but a consultant. So what I'm looking for, is so that we could move ahead with this rather than waiting another month, is if you feel, I'm not even gonna push for the resolution yet. Let's open for discussion on this,
Right, there's some wording that needs changing in this.
okay?
There are attorneys here, Lance, two of them should have to sit down and change some of the wording, what you're looking at and what we're looking at. And I personally will not pass a resolution until it's done.
Now, I've spoken to Ms. Belmy, and I think she's aware of the language that needs to be changed, because the intent here is to, as supervisors indicated, is to hire somebody completely independent to do an evaluation of the existing law and what changes, if any, are going to be made, need to be made, and whether they are supportable by the science. So,
Okay, so based on that language for the consultant as well as, what if, at this time, is there anything else? I'm sorry, gentlemen. That was just Tom.
My thought is this. 2 months ago, we passed a resolution saying we're gonna sit tight with our zoning law. $50,000 won't buy my soul. I don't see any point of discussing it until the state of New York, who in their infinite wisdom took away our ability to be in charge of the zoning in our town. It'd be a cold day in hell before I'll vote to spend money to revise a law when it's Article 10 people that should be taking their responsibility, which goes back to Apex, because they haven't even handed an application yet. And that's just me.
Okay? Lynn?
I'm kind of going along with Rich.
I can't say a word.
I know you can, I'm not, that's why I didn't even ask you.
You can if you want to.
Oh, I wouldn't say something.
Okay? Tom, you're talking about if the verbiage is changed. See, what I was looking for was that we could work on this. I was gonna look for a motion for me to sign this, conditional based on the wording being changed on it, so we can have someone take a look at, do we need to have our laws changed based on what that independent entity finds? But at this time, by the sound of it, it would be 2 for and 2 against by the sound of it right now, because we don't have a straw breaker.
Well, I'm not only for the change in wording in it, but I also agree with Rich that we just changed those, and Article 10 is the one that's gonna make the decision whether they okay their application or whether they send it back to us. We have no say in it. And why Apex hasn't applied for it, I don't know.
So what you're saying then, gentlemen, is that if they have put in their application, then we may entertain looking at this again?
They aren't gonna apply to us anyway.
They're applying, if they apply, it's to Albany, to the siting board. At that time we look at it, or we wait for them?
My understanding is that we've been stripped of what our power is until Article 10 does their duty. And the other thing I think we should look at before we entertain too much information with Apex is I'd like to see their financial report. I could blow a lot of smoke and go around and tell people that I'll sign your contract and I'll pay for this, but how do they know, and how do I know, that Apex has got the money to deliver? I'm not convinced yet.
Okay. Then I guess by the sound of it, this is dead in the water for it this time. Maybe we'll readdress it again in another 2 years, like up there then. Because I don't foresee anybody moving. The whole point here also being is that we keep on hearing how we're not negotiating, we're not doing anything to move along. How are we going to get the monies? Where's the money coming from? What are they going to be responsible for in our community? Well, once again, like you said, you want to know their finances. We can't do anything to find out how they're going to aid and make this community better unless we move on with something, and they have to see that we're in good, I can't think of the word I want, but basically that we are looking to negotiate.
We have acted in good faith 8 years ago when the town, in its wisdom, passed a law on what would be acceptable for this community for a wind farm. Now, I'm a non-duck, and be the first to admit it, but if I came into this town and wanted to build a wind farm, and I read the law, which I would think they would have done first thing up front, and I said, oh my, they only want me to have a 500-foot tower, but I want 700, that would have been the time to come to the town board and to the community and say, 500 feet don't work, I want 791. That's just
No
me, but
disagreement.
I can't help the way I
No
feel.
disagreement there from anybody. Anybody. I don't think anybody in this room would disagree with you on that. How they should have been more upfront with it. But that's the past now, too. Also, take a look at what the wind laws were based on. That was the technology at that time. Does anybody still use the exact same cell phone that they used 8, 10 years ago? They've changed. Do the computers, how about them with the amount of memory they have? Technology changes.
When I talked to Ben about the same thing I just said,
Yeah,
he told me the technology changed since we came in here.
yeah, it could have.
And technology could change again when they leave. I can't control that.
No? Okay.
Got a bunch of hands up.
No, this is our meeting, our discussion.
Yes.
It's not that theirs part whatsoever, I'm sorry.
We just live here, that's okay.
That's right, you just live here. Now, I would dare say then that there's no need to go any further on this, looking for a motion on that at this time, so that's dead in the water then. Okay. Then we'll move on to the reports. Financial. Total receipts for the month were $25,820. That's how much we took in this month, in the month of March, I should say. Expenditures for the year through the end of March was about 24.99% of our annual budget. The general townwide fund expenses, we've spent so far this year $134,551 for about 27.424% of our budget so far. Highway, I spent $235,739 for about 21.63% of their annual budget. And one of the nice things there that Dale has got to be playing games with is our illustrious governor has decreased the amount of money that we will be getting back. And he'll probably bring that up in your report then, how we're missing out on a few dollars. Okay, which is you? You're next, Dale.
As Sean mentioned, and as everybody's probably seen in the paper, that the state budget is passed and they eliminated what they called the Extreme Winter Recovery Program, which was, to us last year, was about $29,000, maybe a little bit more than that. So we really don't know what we're gonna get from CHIPS and PAVE New York until they come out with that final figure again. But in our budget, we have $253,000 for our roads this year, so. But they're gonna continue to cut us. Some projects may have to go to the wayside, you know, but hopefully we can keep up with maintaining.
We should be on schedule for this year.
I think
But
we'll be
if
okay
things
this
stay
year.
as they are,
Yeah.
starting with 2020, we may have to do a lot of patchwork rather than repair, total repair, I mean, replacement. Okay. Gee, won't say.
I turned in the 284 agreement to Maureen. If there's any questions on that, I can answer. Other than that, we,
Oh, okay, this is it right here. Yep, so everybody's got to sign this one here. Yes. And it's everybody. I just happen to notice there's a second column as well. Okay, so this is your 284 that we need a motion for this agreement for expenditure of highway monies. And I'll be passing this down so you can take a look at it and sign them, gentlemen. There are 3 separate documents. They're all the same, but there are 3 separate documents. You need to sign all 3, please.
no, they're not all the same.
They're not?
No, they're all different roads.
Oh, yeah.
They list the roads that they're
Yeah.
gonna work on.
Okay. I am so very sorry.
1, 2, there's 6 roads there.
Yeah, 6 roads, Eagle Harbor, Quaker Hill,
No, you go Harbor. That's the county.
oh, commencing on. Okay, Hemlock Ridge, Gillette,
I don't know where you're looking.
it's right
Okay,
there.
go ahead. Yep, you're right.
Permanent improvements on town highways, Thorpe, Crane,
Yep,
Culver, and Spoilbank.
you got it.
Okay. What I was reading is it's gonna run from this road to that
Oh,
road area.
yeah.
Okay. So what I need, once again, gentlemen, is a motion to pass this 284 so Dale can submit it to the state, so we can
County.
get, to the county, I'm sorry, and get reimbursed for it. Anyone wanna make the motion?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, pass it down for you gentlemen to sign. Anything else, Dale?
No, not unless there's questions on the highway report.
I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to even look at it. And Maureen didn't bring hers.
Really not a lot of, anything different on
Okay.
there.
It's called cleanup right now,
Yeah,
sign repair.
yep.
Good enough. Okay,
So they can all look at it. I'll give you a
Okay.
copy.
pass it down so everybody can look at it. My copy for Maureen, and you're giving me my monthly check to hand in or deposit.
Second notices are going out for taxes. I will be done with them at the end of the month. We'll go back to the county. Water bills just went out, due in May. Other than that, everything is normal.
Okay?
Maureen,
Yes,
you forgot me,
what about you?
the checkers.
Oh, no, I told him.
Yeah,
We're
you
supposed to
did.
put it on the agenda, but I didn't see it, sorry.
Well, go ahead, do it now. If you're all done.
Yes, I'm all done.
Okay.
And
Go ahead,
for this
Larry.
report.
For me,
Yep.
I did the audit for the judges, and everything was good. A lot of tickets. So, that's it for this year.
Okay. We have nothing new from,
You need to get the resolution.
but we need to have a resolution
Yes,
on the,
that they accept his report, that's what the state's waiting for.
how come I don't have any document already?
You'll get it once it's late. It's not late yet this year.
Oh,
We'll get a notice,
I'm ahead of time this year.
yeah.
well, that's good. Okay, I need a resolution then, or a motion to accept Larry's audit of the judge's report.
So
Okay,
Three people already.
I will take Tom as making the motion and Rich as making the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried then. We have no report from the assessor. Yeah, we had last month.
Should follow up this month.
Yeah, he
Yeah, I know.
assessed us.
Okay. Highway Committee, Larry, anything there?
No, I already talked to Dale.
Okay. Planning Board, Tom, Kirk,
Yeah, we had our second public hearing for the Whitler property, special use permit. And there was drainage issues, which we couldn't resolve. And Mr. Whitler decided he would withdraw his application for a special use permit at this time. So we'll see where that goes. He felt that he had talked to his attorney and he doesn't need a special use permit, that maybe just a permit to build this addition onto his pole barn. I think Shelley will talk to you, Lance, about that. And we went over the solar and made some adjustments. You covered that. That's all.
zoning, Lee, anything?
They will be meeting on Monday for a public hearing on Josh Baird's place on Eagle Harbor, not Eagle Harbor, Oak Orchard.
That's the 15th,
Yes,
time?
7.
Yes, on Josh. Public hearing, yes. Anything else, Lee? Okay. Park Committee. Jason.
All right, so since I've been on board, I've met with Greg and I have met with the park committee. We've added updates to the website to include the forms, application forms and a fee schedule for that. We reviewed the park rules, kind of went over that a little bit, and I think those are probably finalized at this point. I've reached out to several different, youth groups and about scheduling tournaments, so that's kind of wanted to wait until we had the fee schedule established before we got back to them, to actually schedule some dates. But the baseball and softball clinics that have contacted us, soccer's looking at coming back this year. We'd like to host an under 10 baseball tournament sometime in July. Girls softball's looking at utilizing the field, and even youth football maybe at some point of using the park fields. Also been working with the committee on updating the concept plan for the park. Supervisor sent me some information on some current mapping, so we looked up, well, want to update that and kind of come up with a game plan of where this park's going to be progressing here over the next, 2, 4, 5, 10 years, and where we think it could go. And again, I think there's something to be realized there. I mean, it can be a nice facility, and we should do that. Well, that's pretty much it. So we're just getting into the baseball season, so that'll start consuming some time.
Okay, good. Utilities, Rich.
I got nothing.
Okay. Attorney, mister.
Well, I just want to bring up, under old business, when you were talking about negotiations, I think you were referring to the negotiations with the highway department, right?
Correct.
So we have submitted what I think are final and acceptable proposals to the union representative, actually probably about a week and a half ago. I have contacted the representative to get back to us, but I have not heard yet. So I don't know I know there are a couple of people from the highway department here. I don't know if you've heard anything from Ms. Reed, So we'll follow up, but I think we're very, very, very close to finalizing a new contract.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Lance, you sent us a report of a lawsuit with the town of Howard,
Yeah.
and I read it. Now, could you explain it to me? Because my imagination might not be following the right trail.
Is this the conflict of interest?
Yes.
Specific? That was actually provided to me by Ms. Bollier, but you want me to try to summarize it?
Yeah. 100 words or less.
Let me see if I underline the operative.
Or would you want me to summarize it and you tell me I'm wrong?
No. Basically, under the conflict of interest decision, it says, in determining whether a conflict of interest exists, courts should take a case-by-case approach in looking to the extent of the interest at issue. However, the interest which disqualifies a member of councils to vote is a personal and private one, not such an interest as he or she has in common with all other citizens or others or owners of property. So, I guess to summarize that, maybe Laura can step in if she thinks I'm misinterpreting. But let's say that you're going to vote on a general, like a law, like for example, revising the zoning law. That's something that concerns everybody in general. It doesn't concern a specific individual. It doesn't mean that they have a financial interest necessarily in the outcome of the law. It applies generally. So if it's something where there is a direct personal benefit, which we're talking about money basically, then that would constitute a conflict of interest. So if somebody, for example, at least according to this decision, who let's say has a lease with an energy company, they would not be precluded from sitting and discussing and voting on a law, okay, which applies generally to the town. Is that a correct interpretation? Basically.
But
Go ahead.
if I was a person that,
That's totally wrong. That's not correct.
say I wanted
Excuse us.
let's say I wanted a solar.
Excuse us.
You can put it in the notes for me, I take issue. with that.
Excuse me.
That's not
This is
correct.
our meeting, not yours.
Well, you're putting rhetoric out there that's not.
Excuse me, John.
What, pointing at the door?
I am.
I'm not leaving.
You don't have to, but don't continue. I'm sorry. Go
So
ahead.
as long as I haven't received any money for the project, it's okay to vote.
No, it's not a question of whether you receive money or not. I mean, if you signed a lease, it says the interest, this is a decision. Now, this is a decision on a Supreme Court, Steuben County. It really only applies in Steuben County. It doesn't apply statewide, okay? Because of the court structure that we have in New York State, you have courts of general jurisdiction, like the Supreme Court, then you have 4 appellate divisions. So, and basically, a decision by an appellate division only applies within the counties that are included within that appellate division. Then if you have a Court of Appeals case, that's the highest court in the state, then it applies statewide. So is this something that's written in stone? Not necessarily written in stone, but this is guidance. That's all it is guidance.
Okay, thank you. It's an awful lot of words to say very little when they write it down.
You know, lawyers and judges get paid by the words. So
Okay. Anything else?
that's all I have.
Okay. Then we'll continue with the addressing of the town board. Remember what the story is, 5-minute limit, you have it right there on your agendas. And because I get tired of the old educational way that things start out, and you start with number 1 and go to number 99, or you start with the A's and you go to the Z's, I'm changing it up tonight. I'm starting at the end. And at the very end, because it's a last minute one, Miss Jessica Walsh.
Hi, Jessica Walsh from Apex. I just want to quickly announce 2 events we're holding this month. The first one is going to be our visual impact study. We are extending it through the end of the month, and next week we will hold extended office hours for anyone who wants to come participate. So our office will be open Monday, April 15th through Thursday, April 18th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then the second event is Monday, April 29th. We will be holding a wind farm tour. We'll be taking a bus from the Heritage Wind office to the High Sheldon Wind Farm. I just asked that if you want to attend that one, if you could call the office or go online at RSVP, because we have a limited number of seats on the bus. And both, there's postcards with information on both in the front. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you about the wind farm field trip. Unfortunately, I'll be in Albany at that time, so I'll be unable to go. Otherwise, I would have signed up for it. Okay, next on the list, Mr. Carl White.
In case you don't know me, I grew up in the town of Barry. I own property on Pusey Road. My father still lives over there. And I'd like to thank Kirk Mathis and Christine Loss for allowing me their time as well, so I can get this all in one fell swoop. Wind is the past, the present, and the future. Historically, wind is the first power harnessed by our ancestors. It removed the chaff from the grains, and eventually it powered the mills that turned those grains into flour for baking. Wind powered the first great ships for long-distance explorers, and now we are looking at the wind again and seeing the most modern use of it to date. Wind, along with solar, will be the power for our future. As long as the sun shines and the earth turns, there will be wind. You and I will live and die, and our children and their children's children will come and go from this earth, and there will still be wind. We can't run out because we have dug the last bit of it from the deepest recesses of the planet, and we won't have to resort to hydraulic fracturing to force it out of the bedrock of our home. Wind just is. Respected by the most ancient of peoples as one of the cardinal elements of the universe, wind can still sustain us and lead us into the future. I have been a supporter for as long as I can remember, but I really became excited about wind power the first time I flew into Vienna, Austria while on vacation, and saw from my airplane window a huge sea of turbines gleaming in the sun, their blades turning tranquilly in the breeze. They were generating power, and I later found out they were supplying about a quarter of the region's total usage. That view made my mind up forever, that I would support wind power whenever I had a chance. This is not going to be a factually detailed summary of all the good things about wind power, citing peer-reviewed studies from highly reputable sources with authors and dates and all the boring details. Why bother? Those who are against wind turbines don't care, wouldn't listen, and would spend the next month trying to find the available outdated or worse yet, completely made up data to refute anything I could cite. They would simply dismiss fact by agreeing to disagree, even though one really can't disagree with a fact, whether you like that fact or not. 10 years ago, I thought my chance had finally come to support wind power locally when a company came to Barry looking to site a new wind farm. But it turned out that technology wasn't quite there for the town of Barry to get the turbines. And yet, because of that, the town of Barry was proactive and drafted a zoning ordinance governing the possibility of turbines in the future. Residents of the town had the opportunity to say yay or nay and ask for possible changes. I don't really remember a lot of people showing up to voice any resistance to the ordinance and its specifications. The simple fact of having that ordinance in place made Barry an attractive location for a wind farm. And at the big dog and pony show that was the forum at the Albion Middle School, I recall hearing the question, what's changed in the last 10 years to make turbines feasible in Barry now? That's a very simple answer: technology. Minimum wind speeds needed to engage the rotors have gone down with the development of lighter alloys, better lubricants, and better load technology. Automated systems available today outstrip by at least 100-fold those available 10 years ago. With designed-in fail-safes, they are more reliable and safer than they have ever been. Structural engineering has made taller, more stable turbines possible, and the wind we feel on the ground is nothing compared to the high-level winds. Turbines are designed to run within certain guidelines and will engage and disengage based on those guidelines. They are no more or less reliable than any other modern machine. No different than a car or truck on our highways, but more than likely far better maintained. Since this publicly advertised and notified secret project was begun, there has been the constant undertone by the opposition that there has been a great deception passed off on the residents and landowners in the town of Barry. People worry about property values, noise, and electromagnetic fields, not to mention wildlife interference. Yet to my knowledge, those same people are not traveling around on horseback and living off-grid in an organic sanctuary cut off from the rest of the world. They seem to use a computer well enough to research the origin of a stock photo used for a deceptive handout at a public event. They use the roads that are maintained for automobiles and seem to shop at the big box stores. They seem to have no issues with killing trees to make flyers and handouts to annoy the rest of the citizens with. And yet, they can't be bothered to come to an open town board meeting until some rumor gets to them at the donut shop that there are dangerous and unsightly wind turbines coming to the community, and they will ruin everything about our little bucolic town. The town of Barry, where on any given day the smell of a slurry pit wafts across the fields from the freshly spread manure, where at any given time on a calm day one can hear floating through the air the roar of a semi rolling down 98. The sounds of chainsaws, shotguns, and heavy equipment going about its business. Rarely is it ever quiet in Barry. Even in the night, some noise or other is floating out there. Yet here we are discussing how loud the swish of a turbine blade will be from inside our homes, where the TV is blaring with the surround sound cranked up to hear every whisper coming out of the soundtrack. During a recent power outage, I sat and listened inside my home that had no power and realized just how much ambient noise we live with. The refrigerator, the sump pump, the furnace, even the electric water heater makes a bit of noise as the heating element crackles to life under its crust of hard water deposit. To be so conceited as to believe that you have the bionic ears of a Doberman guard dog and will be so bothered inside your home by the smooth swish of a turbine blade, occasionally audible if the wind is moving just right, that you have to stop the construction of the future is no more than the height of selfishness. But Barry is a country town and turbines are nothing more than industrial machines. I've heard that being said on more than a few occasions, and that statement could not be more true if it were said by God herself. Industrial machines run rampant through Barry. Have you seen most of the farming equipment around here? And then take a look at the roads that they are traveling on over and over every year. These roads were never designed for the loads that these machines are now. One of the best things about bringing these big industrial machines into our little town is that the company will be involved in improving the roads, to build sites for sure, because the equipment that will be needed to traverse them, but also indirectly with money that is paid to the state, the county, the town. Outright payments, not taxes to the state that will have to be fought for with thousands of pages of paperwork filed. A check to the town that can be cashed and earmarked, used as the town sees fit. Rather than fight to have turbines and thus no money, no turbines and thus no money, why not support the turbines and instead fight for what that money gets used for? Do we need some new trucks for the highway department? How about a nice pavilion for the town park? Maybe we need some new road signs around the town. And what about the fire district? It's money we wouldn't have available otherwise. Maybe, just maybe, instead of stomping your feet and refusing to see the future, you embrace the fact that it's coming in spite of your tantrums, and perhaps request a quid pro quo and suggest that perhaps Apex and Heritage can help alleviate the cost of that much-needed new fire hall that the community doesn't seem to want to support. Unsightly turbines? You have your opinion and I have mine. To me, they are industrial art, twisting happily in the breeze, making lazy circles while they generate electricity that is sent into the power grid for all our modern conveniences. Our microwaves and TVs and cell phones, our computers, the electric stove or the electrically powered igniter for the modern gas stove. But those lazy circles kill birds, you say, and your cars kill deer and birds, and your pets kill birds, and your Uncle Mo goes hunting and kills those beautiful Canada geese you're so worried about, and bats, and whatever else the irresponsible, foolish city dweller decides to shoot when he can't find what he was actually hunting. Do you have any idea how many pets are killed each hunting season by bored hunters? More than you really want to know. The sad truth is that human encroachment has had a far greater impact on wildlife overall than all of the operating wind farms currently running. The infrastructure of civilization has always had an impact on wildlife, whether clear-cutting a forest to make arable acreage or laying down railroads across the Great Plain, building great vacation communities on the edges of any body of water big enough to water ski on, or mills along riverbanks. Or worse, great hydroelectric dams blocking off entire species from their breeding grounds, drowning great swaths of farmland, small towns, cemeteries, and history. 99% of the ill effects of proximity to turbines are psychosomatic. If you believe it's bothering you, you will most certainly be bothered. The siting of turbines is not something taken lightly, if you have ever taken the time to look at all that goes into it. Add to that the zoning considerations also imposed, and it becomes quite the monumental task. A wind turbine does the least damage possible with the smallest footprint and the most benefit. Yes, we will see them towering into the sky, standing above all the structures that we currently know. But for at least a little while, we might be able to say, look at our turbines. We have the tallest ones ever erected. And maybe that'll bring a few looky-loos who end up spending some money around here. And speaking of money and jobs, a lot of work in the early stages. The roads will have to be built and the ground remediated after construction. Erection companies will be here spending money in the grocery stores, motels, and restaurants. Once the turbines are up and running, there will be the need for skilled service and maintenance people. Those are the high-paying, single income, can support a family type of job. Maybe not a ton of them, but they will be here, and they will be earning a living and putting that money into our local economy. And let's not forget the participating landowners, those with rental and property agreements, those landowners getting rental every year from the turbine sites, farmers making money off their land, keeping the land plots solid, and not subdividing them into smaller building lots so they can keep buying food for their animals or so they can afford to send their kids to college. Not subdividing the land so that some fool can come into your neighborhood and build a brand new house that overlooks what was once your private backyard. Not meeting out small building lots along the roadside so that you can no longer drive along and watch the red-tailed hawks stalking the prey in the tall grass or see the fawns frolicking in the dewy fields in the early morning on your way to work. You want to preserve what is best about Barre, but you don't even see what is best about Barre because you're too busy thinking that your small parcel of the town is inviolable. If you truly believe a turbine will destroy your view and enjoyment of your property, you have never had someone build a giant 2-story log cabin in a vacant field that abutted your backyard and was once your playground, where you and your friends hunted for frogs for the contest at the fair or caught fireflies on a sultry summer night. You think a turbine is going to be a bad neighbor until the oaf living in said cabin decides to go out behind his house at 2 a.m. and unload a few magazines from his AR-15 just for something to do. And then he lets his barking dog stay outside all night long. When you sit out behind your house enjoying your bonfire and you can hear the couple in that new house arguing and throwing things, yep, so much nicer than a turbine lazily swishing in the wind. When new people move in and then find out that turbines are coming and they didn't know, what do you tell them? 2 words, due diligence. It's up to the realtor first to inform their customers of upcoming development. Anyone looking to purchase a home or property in a place that they are not from has to do their homework and ask the questions. Read the local papers and visit the town clerk. Ask questions. Visit the local eateries and talk to people. Make friends. Buy someone a cup of coffee and find out what's happening in the town. One thing I know for certain, that there is no such thing as a secret in a small town. Anybody who has moved to Barre in the last 2 years with no clue about the wind farm project, they have been living under a rock or walking around with blinders on. It wasn't a secret when it was first proposed, and it's not a secret now. I have no feeling of pity for anyone who moves someplace with this type of project in the public eye, and they claim they have no forewarning that it was happening. They chose not to listen. I'm going to close with this. Progress is coming, and we can take a big bite and make it work for us, or we can bicker about all the little details that are essentially meaningless in the long run and miss out on some great opportunities while being part of this progress. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Van Leesha.
Mike Van Leesha, Route 98, Barre Center. After being at the meeting, I'm going to change my speech a little. I think you should take Apex's offer to take that $50,000 and investigate, for one, the fact that what the Article 10 will do for you. Because I don't think, the reason Apex hasn't applied for it is because they will not go over our town zoning laws. I'm pretty sure. But that's what you should take the $50,000 for. And as far as guaranteeing the money, put it up for bond. If you 2 lawyers can't figure that much out, I'm not sure what you're doing here. That's my opinion of it all. The other thing I was going to say about, we're embracing technology every day. I'm probably the only guy still here with a cell phone that's a flip phone. Okay, thank you guys. And it's all us old guys who don't care, but we answer the phone when somebody calls us. And the rest of you all think you're on high tech or something, I don't know. But I answer my phone and I do business and keep going. And I don't waste my time scrolling through bullshit. But Yeah, I know I'm getting a little out of hand here. I'm a little hot about the whole thing. Everybody's got their assessment, I think, lately from Barry. Of course, Barry has nothing to say about it. I wouldn't either if I had that kind of bill coming at me. I'm not sure who's gonna pay for all this in the future for our kids. Obviously, you can see, I'm staking my whole life in the future in the town of Barry, if anybody's gonna buy my place. We spent millions there. And I would like the town to try to lead by example. Show me an example that you're gonna do something to help us out in this town for the future. I guess that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Grant Shoemaker.
Not here.
Mr. Chris Capelli.
Not here.
Mr. Yasmin is not here. Ms. Richardson.
Carrie Richardson, East Berry Road. I had a few things that I wanted to address. Just in the contract, just kind of bringing this to everyone's attention. There were wordings that we were concerned about when you're talking about that contract for the $50,000 for negotiations. And just, I applaud you for looking at that closely and making sure that you don't just sign it. We know that Apex has tried to push things through in the past with wording and legalities that make things challenging. So I appreciate that. I also think, that they put in there just about the attorneys and no experts, even though Dr. Pogue, you were talking about how you had specifically asked for experts. I don't think that it would be a bad thing to use those funds and to look at how it is going to impact our town. The DPS and Article 10 process, Mr. Van Lieshout is correct. They are not going to just override our town ordinance. That is one area where we do have a say and we do have control is our town ordinance. And I would really appreciate if you could talk to the DPS and see what they are saying about that, because they will tell you that your town ordinance supersedes the Article 10 process, and they are not looking to come in and change our town ordinance. The Casadaga project, which is the only project that has gone through the Article 10 process, their ordinance was in line with the application. So if our town ordinance is not in line, if we are protecting the residents of this community, that's something that the siting board and the Article 10 process does look at. I also wanted to share in the guidance that came from Apex in regards to the conflict of interest, and I just wanted to share concerns about conflict of interest. It's not necessarily just about receiving money, but if you're signing a lease, and in that lease it says that you're not allowed to be opposed to the project, or if even at their public forum on February 28th, the question was rose, if there is a zoning ordinance that needs to be brought up that's different than what our town accepts, is the landowner, if they're opposed to, is the landowner allowed to be opposed to that? And the answer was no, that they need to go along with that if that's what the developer is pursuing. So I think that that's more of where the conflict of interest concern is when they've already said they're voting in alignment with the developer rather than in the interest of the community and of the residents of this town. I also wanted to, sorry, I have a lot of different notes here. Mr. White shared about his concerns, or his saying that, we're exaggerating things and that we drive cars and we print unused paper. And, but the thing is that there's compounding negatives. So just because there's things that are, so we should just continue doing wrong and make things worse and worse and worse and cause more and more problems, and that'll make things better down the road. But I also wanted to share, so on February 28th, if you looked at the New York State renewable energy and where it was coming from, hydroelectricity was 93.26% of that renewable energy. Wind was 0.47%. And when I looked up, based on the numbers that were provided from Apex, from the question with the number of turbines in New York State. I added them up, and according to their research, there are 1,123 turbines currently operational in New York State. And they are only generating, on February 28th, was only generating 0.47% of electricity being used in New York State. That's something that I think is deceptive, and that's something that I think is wrong. As a taxpayer in New York State, I don't care we're paying for that. We're paying for, and when the developer has sat right here and said, the subsidy, if it wasn't for subsidies, we would not be here. That's concerning, and that's really problematic. Let's see here. There was one other comment, but also the realtors, they do not have to tell. They are not, until an application is submitted, the realtor is under zero responsibility to share with any person who is buying a home that there's a proposed turbine project. So that's something as well that I wanted to share. I think that's most of what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Naka, Wood Naka.
Not here.
Okay. Ms. Naka.
Robin Naka, Route 98. I wanted to give an update for our Berry Rural Homeowner Committee. Berry Rural Homeowner Committee is trying to obtain more people to be volunteers. We have members, but we also have sponsors. There's two portions of our committees. And the committee does welcome baskets. We're welcoming a new person to our committee, or to our town. And we are giving baskets of 11 baskets to those families who have had a person that passes away. And we are also giving out baskets for newborn babies. And so we help people in the community if there's a problem. Maybe they can't go across the road to pick up their mail, or maybe a tree fell in their yard, things of that sort. When we're called upon, we try to find people that'll go out and give a helping hand. We've done quite a bit in the past month and a half, in 6 weeks. I think we've given out 11 baskets. We have 2 that are coming to become new mothers, and we are just welcoming another person in the community. So anyone that would like to join us, there is going to be a meeting at 2 o'clock at Dunkin' Donuts on Saturday. Okay? We'd love to have you come and join, or just be a sponsor. When I say a sponsor, you can bring a can of beans, or you can give $1, or you don't have to do anything but help us deliver a basket. So it's up to you. And I'd like to say that the Berry Better Committee is doing a wonderful job with events, and we're hoping that our committee is going to bring Berry together again. That's our main goal, that have everybody as one and everyone help each other. No matter who you are, we accept all people for sponsors. Okay?
May I ask you one question?
Sure.
You're saying you're looking for more people to assist?
Yes.
Is there still an acreage requirement?
The acreage requirement is for a member, but
For a
people
member,
that,
yeah.
for a member, okay, but not for sponsors. Anyone that wants to be part of it and wants to assist and help a neighbor, there is no acreage requirement.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Alex Naka.
Go by the next person. Motion.
Dr. McKenna.
Yeah, I wrote down a few notes, and it's probably like chicken scratchings here, so I gotta see if I can read my own writing. First thing I wanted to say, as far as the solar law, that was, the planning board worked on and has been passed on to the town board. The public should have an input on that and should look at it and see if there's any changes or anything that you'd like to make too, and make those feelings aware. I won't tell you which proposition or change was made, but the vote was 4-3. So there's something there that you guys should all look at. As far as the taking the money and doing the $50,000, I had my hand up at that time to point out that that sounds like a perfect place for a WIN committee to be working on, where it's everybody working together in that committee. So if we would have set that up a year ago, like we asked, it would have been a nice, there you go, handled that. And I think everybody would have been happy. As far as what the town is getting, I see now where, you know, the payment in lieu of taxes is down from $1.5 million to $1 million. And I'm still waiting for somebody to say how, after the county takes their share and the schools take their share, what percentage our taxes will drop. I'd like to see if it's gonna be more than 15%. That's my rough figures, but don't take, I mean, that's just rough figures. But I'd like to see, you know, somebody get back to us on that. As far as the visual impact, Sean, we read your letter at the planning board. I thought you might read your letter that you presented tonight, that you had sent in as a town representative, that you had sent to the, whatever it was, the DPS or the visual impact thing. DPR, thank you.
EDR.
What is it?
It's
Okay,
EDR.
EDR, thank you. So I think the town would have liked, and the townspeople would have liked to hear what you wrote. As far as, probably gonna run out of time here because now I'm just kind of fumbling. I also was, you know, have traveled and I've seen the windmills and the technology. I've been in Hawaii where they're deteriorating and just a big eyesore and not producing anything. Monday night, we flew into Chicago, and I took a picture, if anybody would like to see it, out the window of 45 turbines. But the interesting thing to me was looking down on them. Yep, you can see them. Yep, they're turbines. You know, we're coming in, we're probably still, you know, 5,000 feet up. But there was only 7 homes in there, you can count them. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, they're putting up less turbines here with 730 homes. I think there'll be people impacted. So, because it just, they do make noise. And as far as the big push I hear is, you know, gotta stop the coal, gotta stop this fossil fuel, you know, we're killing ourselves. We could have done that 5 years ago. We could do that tomorrow. We could close down every coal place and buy Ontario wind a lot cheaper. And I don't know how many are getting the mailings in the mail to switch your energy over to renewable, but before you do, look into it because it's 7 cents higher. Hydro's cheap. And the last thing I will say, it's, you know, turbines, I don't know, I don't have the facts, and you're right, I try to look at the facts before I say anything. I thought that the turbines lasted 20, 25 years, and I just got a report that the wind authority or whatever is now saying 16 years that they last, so I don't know, I haven't checked into that though, but that was from the American Wind Association or whatever. So I am still open, I've still got it out there. If anybody has a pro, I would love to talk to them. Love to talk to them, because nobody has approached me on a pro that, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. McKenna.
McKenna, East Berry Road, Albion. Kind of my general topic this evening is communication or lack of it. I'd like to thank the people from Know Your Facts that are paying for the cost of the videotaping. I think that the value of that is immense on many, many levels, and I appreciate it. I gotta say that there are times that things happen here, and maybe Attorney Mark can help me to understand, when we're paying you to represent our town, and you're checking with someone from Apex to see if it's correct, blows my mind. I may, you know, if you would like to get a hold of me sometime and help me out with why it's appropriate for you to ask them what is okay, I'm just completely baffled by that. So anyway, so some of the things that I think that people who aren't able to come to these meetings, whether they have children and they are not able to come, or whether they are not able to get out if they're infirmed, or if they are working in the evenings and aren't able to come. I think that that's of great value to them, and I appreciate it. I spoke with Rich earlier today, and I would love to have the town help pay for that. I realize that it has been discussed before, and it has been voted down. I guess that what my hope would be is that at least for the town board meetings, because everybody reports back to the town board meetings, at least to give help with that much, which would be about $3,600 a year, allowing that meetings run about 2 hours. I think that would be invaluable to many people. And so I would like to put that out there, but also is this communication is also for accountability. So I'm asking specifically for Attorney Mark to get back to me. I'm asking you, Sean, again, specifically to get back to me as far as this is concerned, as far as the videotaping is concerned. I would like to know, I would like there to be a response to some of the things that the people of the community, all of us, whom you people represent. And so I would really appreciate that. One of the other parts of communication is the maps of the wind turbines. You notice how they never have homes in the maps. And I think that that's to kind of dehumanize them, to make it so that there's no people that live there. There's no homes in there. There's nobody that's going to be looking out at a row of 6 or 8 wind turbines from their home. I would like, again, to ask you councilmen and Supervisor Poe to please have it be that we can have a map so that people can look at it with road names on it. There's a new idea. And homes on it, so people can say, that's my home. And a way to say within, 1 inch, if that's a mile, how many will you have within a mile? I'm kind of surprised because I've learned, I believe, and I'm not sure because there's such a lack of communication from my perspective from Apex, that there are going to be 8 within 1 mile of our home if it goes as this year, this current philosophy is going from Apex. So 8 within 1 mile, okay? When I spoke with Neil Habig a few months ago after a meeting, I told him that at that time, there were gonna be 5 within 1 mile of our home. And he said, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's possible. I think that that's too much. Now, of course, there weren't any video cameras going, so I can't prove to you that he said that, but he did say that. And so my concern is, we need to know, we need, as the community, please represent us. Please find out for us. Please find out if there is such a plethora of information that there's not going to be anything affecting our property values, guarantee it. Easy solution. Guarantee that our property values will not go down. When people come into the town and they realize that if they actually end up coming here, that they will not go down, so guarantee it. Easy enough, Mr. Lark, or Attorney Mark, if you want to speak to the other attorney about it, see if that's possible. That would be fantastic, solve a lot of problems. So anyway, I would just love for also, As far as the $50,000 is concerned, to get the information, I'm not sure if anybody would pay attention to it if it didn't line up with the wind turbines, because we certainly didn't listen to the WHO study. So why would we listen to that? Thank you.
Mr. Metzler.
Mr. Cox is gonna go in my place. I'm not ready yet.
No, you're gonna talk now, or you're not gonna talk at all.
Excuse me, Mr. Van Michel, please.
You let them jump every meeting, I'm tired of it.
Mr. Cox, you had asked to go towards the end.
Yeah.
Want to go now?
But I can do it. I got it, what I wanted to ask.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
On the solar plan, when will that be coming up on the website?
Lee's not standing in here, she would be able to say because she handles that. It should be shortly, and remember, it is only a draft.
I understand that.
Until we go through it, county planning board goes through it, public hearing, right up until we vote on it. So it's a constant draft, it's not in stone.
Well, at least we'd have something to read.
Yeah,
I would
Have
hope
some
that she'd
dates.
have it probably in a couple of days. She's just gotta revise the original draft.
Okay.
there is an old draft that's on there. She just has to modify or change it, that's all.
And one other thing, there is going to be a public hearing, she mentioned, next Monday. When did the zoning board have a meeting to decide that? Because there's no minutes on any of for any of the zoning boards.
I honestly couldn't address it, and once again, we would.
Sean, I can address it if you want.
I didn't see that, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Luann.
Yeah, I'm the chairperson. So we have an application in front of us for an area variance, and that's just part of the process, is there's a public hearing so that if you live next to the person that's asking for the variance, that you come to the meeting, you can express your opinion about it, or you know, give us feedback if it's gonna bother you in some way or whatever.
But you must have had a meeting to decide that, correct?
No, it just, the application comes in front of the committee. You don't have to have a meeting to decide to have a public hearing. That's just part of the process when an area variance application is given to us.
That's changed from when I was on. We always had a meeting before and talked to the people that then they determined when the public hearing would be, and then it would be 10 days after that. Like you said, it's supposed to be publicized 10 days.
It's 5 days, and people have all been notified that live within the required distance. That's the process. We didn't change anything.
Now, which is it? How many days for a public hearing?
Prior to a public hearing, must be publicized. For zoning. 5 days for zoning. So it's different for different.
Yeah. For example, public 10 days.
10 days, okay.
For the town board is 10 days, zoning is 5? How much for the planning board?
Let me turn that off. What we have is when we are having a public hearing for a proposed change in law,
Okay,
then it has to be a minimum of 10-day notice.
okay.
Here is a public hearing on, I don't know if it's 5 days
Okay.
is the minimum. You have to have public notice 5 days prior to the public hearing.
Okay. How much for the planning board?
Once again, it depends on whether it's for a variance or whatever.
Well, the variance
That'd be
is-
5 also? 5 days also.
Okay.
There's a change of law that is 10 days, and that's what I'm going by.
Okay. So, I talked to you earlier before, and you said you don't put the minutes on for the town board until they're approved. Now they've been approved, how soon will we see them on the board, on the time website?
within the next 5 business days.
And one last thing, way back last July, 2018, the 21st, 25th, in between there was a phone call survey done. And I have the papers I printed out, but I'd like to see another survey done, because I think now that more of the people know about what's going on with the turbines, might not, what do I say, not have an opinion. They might have an opinion now, so that would increase one way or the other. And I feel the town board should pursue to do that, or have a referendum. That way, everybody gets it, and they do it. And that's all I have. I'd like to, I think I got about a minute left, if George could speak.
I was just going to correct, you were calling it a survey, and it was a canvas done by Apex, and Apex said it was a canvas, but because they were misquoted in the papers that it was a survey, Ben said, I wasn't going to change it. They give you a survey. What a canvas is a person that wants, or a company or whatever, that's looking for the right answers. They will start to talk to the people. If they're for it, they will take their vote. If they're definitely against it, they'll hang up. And if they can be persuaded, they will continue to talk to them.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Kwiatkowski?
No,
Mr. Grabowski?
Maura Curtis Moy is here. She hasn't been to a meeting in quite a while. And I don't have any questions, so I'd give my minutes to her because she has a question.
Well, I have been to something that, there was a group of us that were asked to check on the windmills and answer some questions. And we came up with something at the end. Number one, if and when you do get windmills here, who is going to take over the repairs at the end? Have anybody thought about that?
Referring to the decommissioning?
When, say, Apex is done, when you have the final contract written up and you're involved, make sure that the town of Berry is not stuck with fixing them at the end, so to speak. Apex dies or whatever, that the town of Berry doesn't wind up having to take care of them if they die. Make sure that Apex finds a way to take care of them, or whoever takes over, make sure that they maintain them, that the town of Berry doesn't wind up having to fix them. And that the town of Berry gets something out of it, more than 15%, that the taxpayers in this town, that the people here get a lot more cuts. I don't know about you, but National Grid is bleeding most of us dry. They keep increasing, increasing, increasing. I don't know about your electric bills, but my neighbors and I are being bled dry by National Grid. That's some of the things that this focus group did discuss, that they got tired of finding out that we are getting bled dry, that everything has gone up exponentially, quite a bit. That they were very concerned that if Apex took over and we got a contract in this area, that we would get some benefits out of it. It wouldn't go to all of Orleans County, that the town of Berry would get a great deal out of this. A lot of us are sitting on top of these windmills, as I am. I know there's at least 3 or 4 right around my house. I don't care if I get a lot, but I would like to see Cox, Mr. Van Leeshot works very hard on his farm, gets something out of it. That Mr. White over there, or any of my other neighbors, that we all get something out of it in this town. I don't think that it should go all over Orleans County if most of it is in the town of Berry. And that when this thing, say they die in 16 years, that there is somebody else paying for it that's in their company or something else, that we don't wind up paying for all the repairs. And it's gonna be expensive. It's not gonna be cheap. That's one of the things that came out of this focus group. That we should not be held responsible for repairing these windmills. Now, I've been down in Wyoming County. I camped down there right around these windmills. No, they're not all real noisy or anything. And birds are not dumb. They're not gonna fly into them. They learn to adapt just like anything else. So does all the wildlife. They do. Matter of fact, they adapt better than humans. That's because they learn to adapt. But if something does come up, and we do have natural concerns, then the country or the EPA or whoever else, Apex has to adapt with them, and they have to take over and help out. All this should be in the contract, and our lawyers should be putting some of this stuff in there. And that's what I have to say. But the focus group says we have to be very wise and make sure that we're not stuck with the finances. And that's one of the things. And making sure that the town of Berry gets some benefit out of this. And that's one of the biggest concerns we have. We don't want to be stuck. Little towns get stuck because big lawyers have a way of cutting us off at the knees. We're not dumb. And let's not prove it to them.
Mr. Metzler,
Oh, you skipped over a couple of people. You wanna-
I skipped over you and I gave you a little more time, so please now.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm not quite ready yet. Can I wait a second? I want to take
The last
Richard's.
chance going right now. Going,
I want to take Richard's spot.
going,
You do it for everybody else, Sean.
not anymore.
All right, well, I'll speak. Still stumping for wind, huh? Okay. My title of my speech tonight is Turbine People. Many times do we tend to lump certain types of people into groups, either by political, sociological, or religious beliefs. It could be either who we vote for, what church we attend, or even how our homes look. Many times, for good or bad, people who share common interests are condemned by the actions of some in those groups. I'm going to present a few pictures taken in our town of the willful destruction of residents of Berry's personal properties. And you can pass these around. There's one for you. One for the camera. This is down at the end of Eagle Harbor Road and Maple Street. You can pass these around if you want to share them with people. This is my trash can. The plow truck struck my trash can, and Mr. Brooks was good enough to replace it. And then the next night, the next trash day, someone came and hacked another one up with an axe. You see, I never had a problem like this until Turbine People. These are signs that were knocked over, and in these cases, they were ladies' footprints in the snow, small footprints, either that or a 6-year-old. I'm just wondering what kind of people Turbine People are, because, and not everybody, I'm not saying everybody, let me finish my speech. Keep that quiet. Now, for the sake of continuity, unfortunately, the supporters of wind turbines have lumped into a group called Turbine People. And certain actions of some of those people who have stolen signs, destroyed them, and we just had a sign stolen between yesterday and today from a property down at the end of Maple Street and 98. That's the 4th sign that's been stolen there. The actions of some of these people who have stolen signs, destroyed them, or just knocked them over, having a deleterious effect on the peaceful, law-abiding persons in that group. On the other side of the turbine issue is law-abiding, peace-loving, neighborly people. I would like to call them the silent majority. They are the majority of the residents who live in our town. They go to work every day, they take care of their families, in most cases they take care of their neighbors. They go to church on Sundays and actually love the community in which they live. Most of the silent majority of Barry are now talking. They're studying and now they're watching. They've heard the rhetoric, if farmers want it, they get it. And let's not forget the right to farm. Well, I have a message for all of you. Right to farm doesn't mean right to harm. We're not going to take it anymore. We're going to continue to report all theft and vandalism on private property. We're going to be diligent. Those bad eggs who are militant oppressors of the homeowners of Barry, and as the old adage goes, will do anything for a buck, and unlike some whose threats and intimidation to elect change, who use threats and intimidation to elect change, we will use the ballot box. So get ready for November. I have another question. I can direct it to Mr. Brooks or to you. I'd like to know if there's a disparity between the plow damage in West Barry versus East Barry. And then I'm going to ask if random urinalysis is being done. Well, because there seems to be some form of connection.
You're making some kind of an accusation by the sound of it.
No, I'm asking questions. Is there a disparity between the amount of damage in East Barry and in West Barry?
We are signed up with a company that does come in and we pay them yearly. They do random drug tests on our employees out in the garage.
Can we foil when the last one was done? Don't have to know who, just when.
Last year.
Or can you tell us the date off the top of your head? Anybody? Can anybody tell us?
You have to make a FOIL request because I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Not at this time. Yeah, we get a report that goes in a file cabinet.
Okay. And I'll answer your question, Matt. For 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago.
I want to let you know that I was just informed you can find out the date, but we cannot give you the results.
Okay, no, that's good enough.
I will tell you something, sir, that every one of the employees that I have lived around in the town of Barry for the last 40 years, I would trust with my life, and I have not yet seen anyone who works in this town that I would say ever has been on.
Well, when an employee of the town goes to my neighbor who's helping me cut down a tree and tell them, what are you helping him for? That guy's an asshole. That's what I got a problem with. Then before that, my trash cans get run over. My neighbor's trash cans get run over.
Are you sure it's a town of Barry employee?
It was a plow truck, it was witnessed. That's why Mr. Brooks was kind enough to replace the can. There was witnesses. Okay? Another thing, just let me mention this, I'm not fighting with you. I just want to say that almost 3 years ago, I asked for a proclamation from the town that the proceeds from any wind turbine project that happens here in Barry, that the money go into each individual who lives in Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler.
In the form of a tax rebate every year, cash money.
I have mentioned that.
Yeah,
that they
and
would take
nothing's
care of
happened
it,
yet.
and I'm sure they would. I already mentioned
Thank
that,
you.
and that was for their consideration.
If you're done with my pictures, I
Mr.
need
Metzler,
it.
thank you.
Yeah, I need
Mr.
to have my
Rowski?
pictures back.
Oh, that's right, you passed your.
Yeah, no, that was me. And I did not know what she was going to say. I don't know about the. No, she's talking about. No, the group, I already said that.
Mr. Bruni, see here.
Who has the other pictures?
Martin's
Can I
out of
have
town.
that?
Sat down. And Ms. Lake, I don't see her.
I'm still missing one.
Oh, he's not here.
Sean, you also take Mark's name off there. He's out of town during the weekdays.
Is he? Okay. Okay. In light of the, conversation, we keep hearing about this, about on the wind turbines, it's, right now, my feeling is on the wind turbines right now, we didn't show good faith because we did not accept the $50,000. Apex, I don't see how they're gonna wanna negotiate with us, whether on a host agreement or go to a pilot agreement. So I got a feeling that we're just gonna sit back and twiddle our thumbs, so why talk about wind turbines anymore?
Shouldn't they come here, sir? Shouldn't they be here to explain themselves to you?
there are representatives from Apex sitting right here. And what you were talking about, we're in full agreement, because that's where the host agreement comes in. You know, when you're talking about negotiating, Dr. McKenna talked about how much would we get? It was at 1.5, I think it's at 1.1 million. Who knows where the numbers are coming from right now, unless we negotiate. But why are they gonna negotiate with us if we haven't shown good faith to them insofar as considering changing our wind laws? So right now, we're kind of like at a stalemate right now. But yes, whether it comes to the highways, whether it comes to what we can do about our taxes in this town, we have said it from day one. All of Berry should benefit from this. If they're bringing the wind turbines in, the town of Berry has got to benefit from it. We're in full agreement with you on that. But we're not going to find out those numbers or anything else now.
Well, then somebody's gotta tell you, we're not gonna just walk into it. We're not dumb.
You can
Okay.
vote what you want. You
So-
guys can still figure out what it is that would be sufficient, what you feel would be appropriate. You don't have to go off of what they're saying, you can say,
Well, yes. We had started something along those lines, but we're done.
You skipped over me, I'm on there twice, but
I know.
I think there's a
You
little.
get extra time on this.
No, he didn't use all of it.
He used 14 and 15 minutes.
All I got is 30 seconds. You wanna hear it or not?
Go ahead, sir.
Kurt Mathis, Mathis Road, Berry. I think a couple of your board members got caught off guard with this agreement, reimbursement agreement. Maybe they've had a few minutes to think about it, heard some of the people here. Would you consider revisiting that issue?
Please. I'm always open. I am. As
Talk to your
everybody else
board
has got
and-
to as well.
Ask your board. Everybody sitting there yet? They've had a few
Well,
minutes?
we'll talk about
Are you
it.
calling for a wind committee?
No, I'm talking about.
That's the logical way, but.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried.